Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back, technologists. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having an amazing week. It is nice and sunny and warm here in the state of Illinois. So, this is a plus. I am so glad winter is over because I am not a fan of winter. I'm all about summer and, of course, fall because I love Halloween. So, that is just amazing. So, looking forward to these nice summer months and getting out there and, enjoying some outdoor activities. So, in today's episode, what I wanted to talk about is I wanted to simplify and talk about CT basics that are simplified. So, we're going to be navigating your training without CT school. Yes, I said that, without CT school. I think that it's super important to know that it's not a bad thing to invest in CT school, especially if the facility you work at, the clinic you work at, or wherever it is that you work at, they are requiring you to go to some type of college course through a program, things like that. So it's not the end of the world, and I'm all for education and bettering yourself and learning what you need to learn. However, I think we can get the concrete basics down as far as the basic core elements that you need to know when you are performing CT as a new technologist, as a beginner. I'm going to kind of lay out some things in this episode. And of course, if you've ever seen any of the courses that I do teach, you can go to my Instagram page. There are links down in the show notes so you can check out my courses. I give you just step by step as far as what you need to know as a beginner. And I teach amazing courses. I even do some live courses. So make sure you check that out. Okay. Plus, I'm doing a 3-day live challenge very soon here, it's coming up in a couple weeks. So make sure you check out the link in the show notes. Get in on that challenge because I'm going to be teaching 3 days live on how to be the go-to CT tech. So all great stuff. Make sure you check that out. And of course, if you always want more support and you need more help, I do offer a awesome coaching program. It's a 6-month program that you can go ahead and enroll in, and I give you the A to Z on how to be the best technologist you can. So make sure you check out everything in the show notes. Get in on the challenge. I'm telling you, it's worth it. So when you are starting out in CT as a new beginner, some facilities will have you go through a CT program and they make you do clinicals and make you learn CT on your own time. So there are some facilities that do that. Now, I know there's facilities that are bringing back the whole cross training and, paying you to cross train. I know some places still say, hey, you have to come on your own to learn, but other places will pay you to go ahead and cross train. I know when I was a beginner, I did cross train. I was paid to cross train because there was a desperate need for CT techs at that time. And they really wanted to just expand the department because they were short and they needed somebody like now, right? So you might be going through and your facility, your manager, whoever says, hey, you have to go through a CT program. I'm going to tell you this. You don't have to do that. That is the whole point of my episode. You don't have to do that because I'm going to give you some things in this episode, and you are more than welcome to join my coaching program, to join my challenge, and to purchase any of the courses that I have available to get you up to speed. So, do I think CT programs are necessary? Not really. They do exist for that purpose that you need to learn, and they are great, and it's a valuable resource of information to get you where you need to be. But when you're on that clinical site, there's a more hands-on approach that I think most of these programs are missing. And that's where you have to hone in and help these new technologists because a lot of them don't know how to navigate a scanner, right? So we all know that the training is often unpaid, especially when you're doing clinicals, and you are just needing to know a complex list of 125 exams in order to sit for the registry. I mean, how overwhelming is that? That alone can just overwhelm you just by a ton, right? So we know that CT is a very advanced modality. There are a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of different types of exams that we do, and not all of them are the same. Okay, it's not like x-ray. You take the same abdominal x-ray, you take the same chest x-ray, you do the same thing in surgery. CT is very, very complex. And so you're needing to know in a very short amount of time how to navigate all that and how to complete that clinical documentation of 125 exams that you have to repeat 3 and 5 times so that the ART says, hey, you're competent for this, right? So let me give you the reality about CT programs. Okay. Now, I've done my research on it, and I can tell you there's not a lot of programs that exist out there. Okay. There's not like hundreds of CT programs out there. There's probably a good handful in my research. So a lot of these are expensive. I mean, during my research, it's probably, I'm going to average about $3,000 to $5,000. And usually it could be a 12-month, 14, 16-month program. I've seen programs that cost up to $20,000. There is actually a CT program, because it's looped into a bachelor's program, that costs $20,000 here in downtown Chicago. It is ridiculous on how much that costs. And I'm like, you know what? That's one expensive, school. So there's an average of all these different types of programs, and the expense varies. Now, what I found out doing my research is the curriculum that they offer, and it's pretty similar, that there's a lot of physics involved, because you have to know the physics part when it comes to the registry, because there tends to be a lot of physics questions in CT when it comes to the registry. I think where the program's disconnect is that the main focus is the tech is going to go out there and be on that floor and need that hands-on, on the job training, because they have to be able to perform the job, right? So I think where the disconnect is that, yes, they pick a clinical site and they're on their own. There should be some kind of mentor or some kind of, instructor out there on the clinical site to help these new technologists navigate this. Now, the other thing that needs to happen is there should be some kind of checklist, some kind of guide to say, okay, we're going to work on this, we're going to work on that. For example, you need to know how to operate the scanner, where all the buttons are, where everything is in the room behind the console. You need to know where contrast is. You need to know where syringes are. The simple basics, how to do QA, how to report those numbers, how to, achieve those numbers. How do you find them? You have to know how to set up your scan. Where's your starting point? Where's your ending point on all the common exams that we do? And then if something happens where there's a contrast reaction, you have a pregnant patient, you have a pediatric, how do they navigate making sure that they attend to that patient correctly, that they perform the best patient care possible? Labs and allergies and, drinking contrast. Those are all the important things that I believe that there's a little bit of a disconnect when it comes to these CT programs that we are missing. And that's where I come in with my coaching program, and I assist you in all of that. I help you assess your skills. I help you hone in on what you need to work on when you're out there in that clinical site. And we create goals, which in 90 days you can hit and achieve so that you can be the best technologist you can, right? So the basics are very important. Yes, the physics is important. Do not get me wrong, guys. The physics is important because you need to know that. But when you're a tech out there scanning on that floor in that department, that physics shit goes out the window. And you need to know how to know what you're doing in that room, making sure you're taking care of your patient, and make sure you execute a good exam, because that's what it's all about. Okay. So I think, like I said, new technologists should benefit, it will benefit if CT departments had a checklist, a guide. So when these new technologists are learning the basics, because some of them are not going to CT programs. Some of them are just coming from X-ray straight into CT. So it's good to have a guide and to have a checklist to know, okay, this is where we're starting. This is what we're going to work on. This is what I want to achieve, in the next 30 days, in the next 60 days, whatever the case is. Okay. The other point that I want to bring up is that you, as a new technologist, it's your responsibility to make sure you invest yourself to be the best technologist you can, with education, going to seminars, reading up on things. Investing in yourself is probably one of the most powerful and one of the most awesome things you can do, because you're continuing to learn, because this modality just keeps advancing. Technology keeps changing every single day. And the best way to do it is to make sure that you invest in yourself. Okay. So I hope these were all good points, guys, for this episode. As always, if you have questions, please send me an email, give me a follow on Instagram, and I would love to chat with you. Like I said, I'm doing a 3-day challenge on how to be the go-to CT tech. So make sure you check that out. All the links are in the show notes. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, there is a form linked in the show notes. Make sure you fill it out. Come on the podcast and let's talk about all the CT things, because I love to have guests on my podcast, which that is the next thing I'm working on, is to bring more guests onto the podcast. So hope this episode was helpful. If it helps out a new technologist, make sure you share the show, share the episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, all the helpful things, right? Because that's what we do. We don't gatekeep knowledge. We go ahead and, spread the knowledge so that we all learn from each other, right? So hope this episode was helpful. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next week.